First snow, San Juan Mountains, Colorado. Me and Marcus thought we were just two soldiers on leave, chasing quiet and clean air after too many months in the grind. We rode a rattling train, stepped off into white silence, and set camp. But the woods had their own plans. Footprints, huge, human-shaped, paced us. Tree knocks echoed where no one should be. And a voice outside the tent spoke my name, slow and wrong, like it belonged to something waiting in the dark. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel and comment down below where you're watching from. Thanks. Name's Evan. Infantry. I used to be young and dumb. Now I'm just older and sore. This was back when the knee still worked. Back when we thought a long weekend could fix the rattle in our heads. Marcus was my battle buddy. Same squad. Big smile. Bigger mouth. He cracked jokes on ruck marches till Top threatened to write him up for ruining morale. He meant well. He kept me human. We had block leave in winter. Not much money. Enough for train tickets and a couple days off the grid. Plan was simple. Ride a mountain line into the San Juans. Hop off. Hike in. Camp. Eat like raccoons and talk trash. Come back with clean lungs and a story. That's what we told our girls. No bars, no drama. Just trees and quiet. The train felt like a toy someone forgot to put away. Narrow, old. Iron and wood and the smell of coal even though it ran on diesel. Windows stuck half open from paint and cold. Seats creaked. Conductor had a voice like a gravel truck. He checked tickets like a priest thick with secrets. It was early. Sky the color of steel. Snow on the shoulders of the ridges. Towns thinned and then disappeared. We followed a river cut deep and mean. Water ran black and fast where it wasn't a sheet of chalk. Marcus stretched his legs into the aisle. Boots up. He grinned. This is it, man. No 12-mile death shuffle. No butter bar asking for a terrain model. Yeah, I said. Don't jinx it. He looked out the window like a kid. Colorado, baby. Nothing but trees and clean air. I kept thinking about weight. Packs, food, stove. Rifle in a sock under my jacket, sidearm in the pack, rounds in a small pouch. Nothing flashy, civilian enough to pass the smell test. We checked the rules, didn't wave it in the car. I wasn't about to end up on some blog as the idiot army guy with a gun on a tourist train. The car was half empty. A couple on their honeymoon. Two guys with expensive jackets that said they were here to be outdoors without sweating. An older woman knitting like she had nowhere to be till spring. Everyone smiled. That quiet travel smile. We were on the same little boat moving through a cold world. That's what it felt like. The conductor stopped by and saw our boots and haircuts. He didn't say army, but he didn't need to. Keep your heads down, he said. West wind's dirty today. He punched the tickets and moved on. Marcus waited for him to leave. What the hell does that mean? Means wind is wind, I said. Means he wants a tip. Outside, the hills leaned in like big shoulders. Pines went pure black where the snow didn't touch. Every now and then a rock face showed its bones. The river hissed on a bend and vanished behind a wall of ice. The car heater worked in bursts. Hot enough to make you sweat under the jacket, then cold enough to fog your breath. We ate gas station jerky and chewed in silence like old dogs. We talked drills and dumb leaders and the last range where the butter bar forgot batteries for the radios and blamed supply. We laughed. We always laughed when we weren't in it. Train life has a rhythm. Slow. Clack, clack, clack. You get calm. A good kind of tired. The cars swayed. The conductor's whistle cried into the trees like it was lonely. It felt safe, like being back in the truck cab on a road march. Engine noise. Vibration. You focus on nothing and your brain finally shuts up. We rolled past a boarded depot and a sign half buried in snow. The conductor announced something about a canyon and a trestle. I didn't listen. I watched the trees open into a bowl of white. The sun tried to push through and failed. Light just kinda hung there. Dim, fine by me. Less people hiking meant more quiet. Marcus leaned over and tapped the glass. You see that? I looked. Just pines. Rocks. The white line of the river. A drift ship like a whale. Nah, he said. Probably nothing. Thought I saw a guy with a red hat. I shrugged. Plenty of hunters up here. Not in that drop-off, he said. Nothing down there but rocks. Maybe he likes rocks, I said. Relax. He grinned and shook his head. Always the dad voice. He put his hood up and tried to nap. I sat there with that small itch behind my neck. Habit. Even on leave, you clock exits, people, weird tells. You slow your breathing and listen to the train talk. Most of it's nothing. Some of it is everything. That's how we got home most nights. The conductor came back and checked his watch. Flag stop in 30, he said. Snow's coming. If you boys are stepping off, do it clean and don't wander down slope. You get in the willows and that river will ruin your day. Roger, Marcus said before he caught himself. He laughed it off. The conductor looked at us for a long second. He nodded and moved on. Marcus smirked. He said, don't wander. We are absolutely wandering. The window fogged. I wiped a square with my sleeve and stared out at all that quiet white. Big country. Big enough to swallow two idiots and not burp. I felt good. Calm. We'd hydrate, walk slow, set camp before dark, clean. Easy. Civilian life for a couple days. That was the plan. It held till it didn't. The train slowed into a bend where the cliffs leaned close. Snow fell fat and lazy. The world went soft. Sound died under it. Even the wheels seemed to whisper. We were supposed to signal the conductor at a flagged clearing. He'd stop. We'd hop. He'd roll out. We'd be two specks in a white ocean with rucks and dumb smiles. He eased the train down. There was a horn. One long, two short. Echoes slid through the pines and didn't come back. Marcus stood and shouldered his pack like we were stepping off for a patrol. I pulled mine up and drew the straps tight. Everything felt heavier than it should. My hands found the waist belt by memory. I cinched it and the weight settled in the hips. I breathed easier. The flag stop showed as a gap in the timber, a post with a metal square slapped to it. That was our door to nowhere. The conductor popped the side door. Cold rushed in like a slap. He looked us over. You sure? He asked, no smile. We're sure, I said. He nodded once. Snow comes hard over the ridge. If you hear the horn after dark, that's the last run. I won't be back till morning. Roger, Marcus said again, and the conductor's eye did that tiny twitch people do around soldiers. He stepped aside. We jumped down to a drift that took us to mid-shin. Cold went up the pant legs and bit. I liked it. It meant I was awake. Marcus stomped twice and laughed. Better than sand, he said. Everything's better than sand, I said. The train hissed and eased off. Wheels picked up their whisper. The car windows moved by with faces behind glass. People waved. We waved back. Then the caboose, the last steel box, slid away and we were alone. Silence. Just wind drawing a line through the trees. The river talked somewhere below. Distant, we stood and let our ears stretch. That's what you do. Check your world. Footprints ran along the track edge. Not ours. Not boot tread. They were big. Spaced wide. Deep. The front of each print showed toes. Not hoof. Not claws like a dog. 5. Clear. Splayed a little like a person running in socks. Except huge. Marcus crouched and put his glove next to one. Hell, he said. Big guy. Maybe snowshoe prints with the pattern blown out? Where are the bindings? I asked. The print was clean all the way through. No crosshatch, no strap. Just a sunk oval with toes like someone dropped 5 stones at the front and pressed. Moose? He tried. Moose don't have toes, I said. He looked up at me with that grin he used when he wasn't sure. Bear then, he said. Wait and melt makes weird shit. You heard the conductor, I said. Don't wander. We shrugged it off. You have to. If you grab every weird thing and carry it, you'll burn down your head by lunch. We turned uphill. Stayed off the track. Stuck to the tree line where the snow packed tighter. The plan was to cut across, hook a ridgeline, drop down into a basin the map called Dead Horse. Names like that don't slow you when you're young. Snow came harder. The flakes went from fat to knives. They cut at the cheeks. The pines took the weight inside. We moved like we trained. Not fast, not slow. Good pace. Break it, breathe, push. We talked about stupid movies, bad chow. The time a butter bar tried the correct top and almost melted on the spot. Warm memories. We crossed a little meadow and hit a slump of scrub. That's when Marcus stopped and put a hand on my chest. "Bear," he whispered. Across the meadow at the tree line stood a shape. Big, dark, shoulders wrong for a bear. It moved once. A shift, like something rolling weight from one foot to the other. The head didn't drop to all fours. It just turned, slow, like it was checking wind. Face wasn't right. Too flat. Too forward. I didn't breathe. I told myself it was a stump with a snow cap, but the stump looked back. Marcus snorted under his breath. "Guy in a ghillie suit," he said. "Dumbass is filming a prank." The shape slid sideways into the trees like it knew we were watching. No sound, no brush. It was there, and then it wasn't. The meadow went empty and I could hear my blood. Marcus kept the laugh going even though it didn't sound like one now. "See? Frickin' YouTube." "Yeah," I said, "let's keep moving." We moved, but our eyes kept picking left and right. We drifted closer together like boots on a rope bridge. The wind brought a smell now and then. Not animal musk, not pine, a wet dirt smell. Old, like a crawl space, like a damp jacket you left in a garage. We climbed into a stand of fir that cut the wind. The world went quiet again. Snow on needles. Our breath, the squeak of pack straps when they settled just right. We found another set of prints, not fresh, half-filled. Same toes, big stride. They paralleled the route we were taking. Came and went with the terrain, not panicked, just moving. Like someone on patrol who knows the ground and doesn't care who else is out. Marcus didn't joke this time. He looked at me. I looked back. That was all. We pushed higher and the light slid off early. Winter light does that. 1 minute you think you have hours. The next you're in a tunnel. "Camp," I said. "Copy," he said, and didn't even laugh at himself. We found a patch under thick branches, cleared it with our boots, stamped out a platform, and set the tent. No drama. Stove out. Water from the pot filled with clean snow. I hung the food bag high and far. You learn that the hard way once and pay attention forever. The snow kept falling. It softened the night. I could feel the mountain under it. Big. Old. Watching us like we were ants. It should have felt good. It felt like we had stepped onto a church floor where we didn't know the rules. While the water melted, we heard the train again. Far off. One long, two short. It floated thin over the ridge and went dead. Marcus looked up. "Last run," he said. The words hung in the air for a second too long. Night comes quick in snow. You blink and it's gone from gray to black. The tent glowed a weak orange from our headlamp on low. Stove hissed. We spooned instant noodles like idiots at a slop trough and it tasted like heaven. You put enough salt and heat in something and it fixes the day. We didn't drink. Not up here. Not with snow coming. We weren't that dumb. We sipped hot coffee and let the steam burn our faces. "Dude in a suit," Marcus said finally. "Maybe," I said. He set the cup down. "You think it was a bear?" "I think it wasn't a suit," I said. "Bear doesn't stand like that long." "But I don't know," he grinned. "What if it's Bigfoot? Then we tell him to put on boots," I said. He snapped his fingers. That's the dad joke I needed. We settled in. I did a quick check of gear. Rifle leaned muzzle down in the vestibule. Pistol in the side pocket. Radio on my chest strap with fresh batteries. Extra set in a dry bag. We weren't hunting anything. We were just not stupid. That's what we told ourselves. Outside, something knocked. Not wind. Not a branch sagging and slapping another. It was the sound of a bat on a pole. One, then another, then another. Same spacing as a cadence call. Tap, 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 tap. Marcus glanced at me. I turned off the stove. The hiss died and the tent got quieter than it should. We waited. Nothing. Snow fell. The mountain breathed. I breathed slower. "Trees shifting," he said. "Yeah," I said. A whistle came from downslope, short, sharp. Old world like you'd do for a dog, only not friendly. It stopped and my skin crawled. A second whistle answered from upslope to our left. 2 notes, like they were talking. Not birds. Too cold. Wrong rhythm. I wanted to say wind. The word came into my head and curled up and died. We sat there holding cups like children who forgot to drink. I popped the tent zipper slow, stuck my head out. Snow fell straight down, No wind. Light bounced off a million flakes and came back to me. The trees stood still. The world smelled like ice and damp earth. A silence lay on it that had weight. I pulled back in and zipped up. "Nothing," I said. It was both true and a lie. We cleaned up in small, careful motions. I hung the cup by the stove. Marcus wrapped the spoon. We zipped pockets. We took care of piss away from camp. You do the little things when big things get weird. It gives your hands a job. When we turned off the light, the black crushed in like a blanket. My eyes went wide and stayed that way because that's what eyes do in a tent on a dark mountain. I lay there and counted my breaths. I tried not to count the space next to the tent wall like someone could lay a hand there and press. An hour passed, or 5 minutes. Time is a rubber band at night. I started to slip towards sleep. That light fall where your brain drops the clipboard. That's when something walked past the tent. Not a deer, not a fox. You've heard feet in leaves your whole life. This was different. Slow, heavy, careful. Each step thought about. Crunch, pause. A breath, crunch. The pattern of someone walking outside a barracks at night because they don't want to wake top. The tent skin moved inward with a soft scrape. Like a hand, a big hand. It pressed there on the fabric and then slid away. I kept my breathing the same. That took everything I had. I didn't want to breathe like prey. Marcus lay rigid. I knew that because I could feel his back through a sleeping bag and a pad in the ground. We were 2 boards stacked. The steps moved off. The whistle came again, 2 notes. Closer this time. The answer came farther. It wasn't far. It was just outside our circle. That's what hurt most. They were there, and they wanted us to know it without giving us anything to fight. We didn't move till something else moved for us. A clack from the food hang. Metal on bark. The rope bumped the branch twice. Then something tugged it. Not hard, just enough to test the knot. "Fuck," Marcus mouthed. "Don't," I whispered. I waited until the minutes stacked into a wall again. I slid a hand out of the bag, found the pistol. Cold metal, good weight. Not aimed, just held. We slept in pieces, small ones. Every time I drifted, I saw a face at the mesh, not a monster. Just a shape, a bulk where empty air should be. That's worse. Your brain writes the details and it writes what it hates. Morning came blue, cold, kinda cold that folds your lungs in half. We breathed steam like horses. The tent inside had a skin of frost. We cracked it with elbows and knees to get out. The snow had slowed. It hung off the branches like fat sleeves. Our gear told the truth. Tracks all around. The kind with toes. Big ones. 2 sets, maybe 3. They came up to the tent and circled and moved away. They stopped at the food bag and then decided not to bother. The bag was untouched. That scared me more. Bears go for food. People go for important things. This felt like a person who looked in your window and walked on. Our stove had a glove print in soot on the little windshield. 5 pads, wide, no claws. Thumb set low and far. Not a human hand. Not a bear paw, the size of a skillet. We stared at it and didn't talk for a long time. Marcus finally cleared his throat. Pranky said, "Yup," I said. He didn't even try to smile. "Maybe we pack and move," he said. "Yeah," I said. "We don't run. We move." He nodded like we were on mission. We moved. But the mountain felt like it moved with us. We cut out of the trees and took a line along the ridge. No point staying in the basin. Too many angles. Too much cover for whoever wanted it. Up high you can see. The map showed an old mining road that would take us toward a saddle and then down into Dead Horse. That was still the plan. Plans keep your mind from dripping out your ears. We walked with jackets open just enough to vent. Packs settled into our backs and disappeared the way weight does when it becomes part of you. Snow came steady. The wind picked up on the spine. Nothing hard, just a steady hand on the shoulder. It pushed us along. Half a mile in, we found a tree structure. Not something the wind made. Not something a moose did, rubbing velvet. 2 young pines bent toward each other and woven together at the tips with deadfall that shouldn't have been that high. It made a low triangle you'd have to crawl under. A gate. Next to it, a branch had been jammed into the ground, butt first, like a stake. On that was a strip of hide. Not deer. Too thick. Gray-brown with coarse hair that looked wrong. Human hair has a kind of shine. This didn't. It looked like the bristle on a bad brush. Marcus touched it with a stick. Dog, he said. What dog? I said. Wolf, he tried. I kept my voice flat. Wolves don't hang their hair, I said. We moved on. We didn't crawl under the gate. We walked around like gentlemen showing respect at a door we didn't want to use. It's dumb. It's also what you do when your gut gets loud. The day went gray. The light was thin. The snow hissed. That's the only sound I can name. Hiss. Like it was falling past us, not onto us. We walked. We drank. We pissed and watched the steam and laughed once because we were still human. Then the eyes showed. Late afternoon. Light already dying. Snow thick now. We hit a notch and looked across a small bowl to a low ridge. There were shapes in the trees, not bodies. Just the idea of bodies, but the eyes cut through that. Low, too low for a person standing. Too high for a crouched bear. They glowed like a cat's in a flashlight, but we had no light on them. It was just gray, and those eyes caught what little light the sky had and sent it back. One pair, then two, then more farther left. I counted and lost count and told myself I was counting branches. Marcus breathed. Jesus. They didn't step out. They didn't move. They just watched. The bowl held our voices like cupped hands. I didn't want to give them sound. Keep moving, I said. Don't stare. Don't run. He nodded. We walked the line. Eyes followed. You feel it between the shoulder blades. You know it like you know heat. The urge to look kept tugging my head. I let myself peek once more. I wish I hadn't. One pair of eyes blinked wrong. Not a top-down lid. A slow, sticky kind of close and open, like the eye itself didn't fit the socket. Snow thickened to a curtain. Wind stepped up. A low drone started. Not a machine. Not wind in a simple way. It was the mountain singing through a throat somewhere. The road we wanted was just packed white now. We found the line by the cut in the trees. I took lead and set a pace that kept the blood moving and the head on a swivel. Marcus drifted back half a step. He didn't like the pack right up on me. He liked the lane. That's good tactics most days. Today I wanted him on my shoulder. You all right? I asked. Yeah, he said, and his voice was tight. You good on water? Yeah. You hungry? Yeah. I smiled at that. He always said yeah to that one. We hit the saddle and the wind punched us. It carried a smell this time. Wet hay. Old meat, not rot, not fresh kill. Like a shed or a pen that never gets washed. I have smelled bear. I have smelled a lot of animals. This had some of that. It had something else under it. Something like dirty wool after a rain. Our talk got sharp. Little snaps. Micro-arguments about map lines that weren't arguments at all. That happens when people are scared. The fear has to go somewhere. It comes out in dumb corners. Road drops there, I said. No, it hooks left, he said, pointing. We follow the cut, I said. I know, he said. I see it. I see it. I'm not an idiot. I didn't say you were, I said. Stay tight. He blew air out his nose. Don't make it like basic. I stopped walking. He almost bumped into me. Marcus, I said, I want you next to me. That's it. He nodded. Copy. We kept on. The road did hook left. He had seen it right. I didn't say anything. He didn't either. You learn to leave the talk alone when the mountain leans close. The day thinned to more gray. We needed cover. The map showed an old mining outpost down in the drainage. 2 shacks and a collapsed ore bin. A black dot that meant a shaft. I hate tunnels. I hate them more in snow with a wind that sings. But 4 walls and a door sounded better than tent fabric and a hand pressing through. Outpost, I said. Outpost, he said back. We moved down, boots sliding on compacted snow hidden under the new stuff. Ankles bit, knees cursed. Packs felt mean now. That happens when your brain starts to fray. Way becomes cruel. We were less than a mile out when the first rock came. Not a pebble, a rock the size of a helmet. It landed 10 yards off to my right with a thud that sprayed snow. No arc that I saw. No tell. It just hit like the mountain coughed. We both froze, eyes up. Nothing. The ridge to our right was a band of trees. Snow shook off a branch there like a dog. Another rock came. short, skipped, rolled to our boots. It had dirt on it like it came from under snow. "Keep moving," I said, voice low. "Don't shoot." "I wasn't going to," he lied. A whistle came from the left, answered by one from ahead. The eyes moved in my head even if I couldn't see them. I put a hand out and felt Marcus's sleeve. I didn't want him to drift. Snow hit my face like ash. The wind had steel in it now. We rounded a bend and the outpost showed below. 2 gray huts, roofs sagging, doors gone. A short, dark slash where the mine had been. A broken fence frozen in a curl. It looked like a postcard from an old war. Empty, bitter. "Home," I said, "for tonight." "Copy," he said, and for once the radio talk felt right. We took 5 steps. The boulder came from behind. Not a rolling rock, not a slide. It came in high and hit the snow in front of us so hard it bounced. It was the size of a chair. It crashed and rolled and came to rest with a groan like it didn't like the new spot. Marcus didn't even have time to swear. He brought the rifle up, safety off, cheek weld perfect because he was a good soldier even when his heart wanted to run. I put a hand on the barrel and pushed it down. "Not yet," I said. He shook. I could feel it through the stock. The whistle came again. Closer, then another. Then a third to our right. The sound squeezed us. My scalp prickled. That's when we heard our names. Not a shout, not a friendly call. My name came over the snow line like dragging a bag. Eva Ian, drawn out. Wrong. Like a kid trying on a deep voice. Marcus jerked. "Who is that?" he said too loud. "Not us," I said. "Move, Marcus," the voice came. The syllables stuck. The S got heavy at the end like it was tasting it. "Fuck that," he said, and we moved. We ran low, army fast. Not panic, just moving weight and feet in a way that keeps you alive. The outpost sat like a broken tooth below us. The snow was knee-deep now where it drifted. We punched through and cursed. The radio on my chest clicked like it wanted to talk. Static fluttered and died. The battery was fine. The air wasn't. The line of the old road funneled us. Trees on both sides, wind behind. Voices that weren't ours around us like birds. They began to mimic more. Little things we said earlier, bent and stretched till they broke. "Don't wander," one crooned in the conductor's gravel. "Better than sand," another one said in Marcus's voice, and then laughed wrong, a cough on the end that wasn't his. He snapped. "Come out," he yelled, and the mountain threw it back at us thin and mean. Something broke a tree to our left. Not a dead stick. A live trunk wrist thick. It went with a crack like a gunshot and fell. Snow jumped. The shape that did it stayed behind the cover. I saw a shoulder, a head without the neck I expected. It lifted and moved, and the trees took it. "Outpost," I said. "Move," he answered. We moved. The first hut had no door. The roof sagged like a tired man. Inside it smelled like piss and time. Graffiti on one wall from long ago. Names, dates, the same bad jokes people always write when they want to mark being alive. A pile of gear in one corner, mold on canvas. An old hard hat like a skull on a stick. We dumped packs and pulled the second hut door closed. It had a door, but the hinges were bad. The wood swelled with wet and scraped the sill. We got it planted and dropped a beam into brackets someone had made for a bar a century back. That felt like a prayer. Marcus paced once, twice. He checked his mag. He checked the bolt. He rotated his shoulders like he wanted to fly out of his skin. I held the radio and tapped the push to talk even though I had no one on the other end. "Say something," he said. "You're doing fine," I said. "We hold here. We don't burn ammo. We don't give them anything they want." "What did they want?" he asked. "To scare us into running," I said. It sounded calm. It didn't feel calm. Or to make us loud at the wrong time. Something touched the window, not fingers. A palm. It flattened across the dirty glass. The glass bowed a hair but held. It left a wet print in melt. I didn't breathe. The print covered half the pane. The skin looked wrong, thick, like pads. The hand pulled away and left streaks that ran. I went to the window, slow. I wiped a small circle with my sleeve. The world outside was a wash of gray and flakes and the black tongues of firs. In that, something stood. Close, too close. Too close. No more than 10 feet. It was tall, but not cartoon tall. A head above me, broad like a linebacker in winter gear. Hair matted from snow, not fur. Hair, long on the arms. Shorter on the chest where it had rubbed on things forever. The face had a brow ridge like a battering ram. The nose was flat and wide and wrong for any ape I'd seen. The mouth sat in a line that said it did not care what I was. The eyes were the worst part. People think eyes are windows. They're not. They're lids on pits. Its eyes reflected nothing now. They were matte, the color of river stones. They didn't blink. It leaned in, not to sniff, not to curious cat. It leaned in the way a guy leans into your space at a bar. A control move. It put a fingertip to the glass and traced a line down. It left a trail of melt and grit. Then it stepped back and vanished. Not far, just enough that if I wanted to see it, I'd have to put my face on the window. I didn't. Marcus had the rifle on the door. The barrel quivered a millimeter. He was wound too tight and I wanted to let him fire just to let some pressure out. But a shot would mean nothing now and mean everything later. Sit, I said. He didn't. He went to the other window and tried to peer out. The night vision monocular he kept for hog hunts at home came out of his pocket. He clicked it on. It hummed and the image came green and watery. It's flickering, he said. Batteries hate the cold, I said. I just swapped them. Put it away, I said. He did. His hands shook when he folded the strap. The humming started then. Low. Not in the hut. Not outside. Not outside. Inside the head. That's where it felt like. It was the sound you get from power lines in summer, only thicker, and it came and went like the tide. When it rolled in, my thoughts blurred. When it rolled back, I wanted to run. Do you hear that? Marcus asked. Yeah, I said. What is it? Wind in the shaft, I said. I don't know why I lied. Maybe to keep the world in one piece a few more minutes. Evan, the voice came again, right outside the door, like someone crouched there and put their mouth to the crack. Open. Up. Nope, I said out loud and my voice sounded like someone else's. The hum swelled. It made the wood sing. Nails creaked. Snow shifted off the roof and slid down with a heavy rush. The door rattled once, twice. Something put weight on it, like a hand gently telling a child to stay inside. Marcus's breath got fast. We got to move, he said. We got to move now. We move tomorrow, I said. Back to the track. We get to the train. We don't try to fight in the trees. We don't go in the shaft. We wait for light. We hold. He put a hand on his chest. My heart, he said, feels wrong. It's fine, I said. It's fear. It lies. Breathe with me. We breathed. In, out. Good cadence. We did it like we used to behind a wall with rounds snapping. You can build a small island with breath. Something dragged along the wall outside. A branch? A hand? A hand? It left a line like a zipper being pulled slowly. Then it stopped at the window. A nail tapped the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Same cadence as the tree knocks before. I couldn't help it. I laughed once. A bark. What? Marcus said. They do cadence, I said. He snorted. They can have the guide in. Snow deepened. The wind edged up. Night soaked the hut. The hum stayed. We ate cold bars with stiff fingers and drank the water we had. No stove now. No scent to add to what the mountain had already decided about us. Somewhere a timber popped. The house moved a fraction like it wanted to settle right into the ground. I slept in minutes, between taps, between hum waves, between the door rattles. I saw faces in the wood knots. I heard a laugh that was mine bounce back. I dreamed of the range and chalk dust and the sound of a drill instructor in a throat not built for human words. The hut came back to me as a frame of darker dark at some point that was still night, but wanted to be morning. My bones hurt. Mouth dry. Spine stiff. The bar on the door throbbed in my vision like a pulse. Marcus sat up straight against the far wall. Eyes open. He hadn't slept. He gave me a tiny nod like we were pulling security on a corner of the world. We still here, he said. Yeah, I said. The hum was softer. The taps had stopped. The wind wandered. The snow fell less. The quiet had weight again. We checked the windows. Tiny scratches all over the glass. lines and arcs like someone dragged a dull knife just to see it mark. On the sill lay a pile of little rocks stacked in a tower as high as my finger. I hadn't heard it built. It had a rhythm in it, though. 3 small. 1 a little bigger. 3 small. A pattern you feel in your teeth. On the back wall, not the graffiti side, were scratches in the wood. Old, long before us. Some deep, some shallow. I ran a glove over them. They came in bundles, 4 long with a 5th offset. I pictured the hand on the window, the thumb low. I pictured it on the wood, working down the grain, patient. Those marks had age, 100 winters, 200. I didn't want to know. There was gear in the corner under a rotten canvas. We pulled it with 2 fingers and made ourselves look because ignoring things gets you killed. An old pack frame, leather straps gone to powder. A miner's lunch pail, round, dented. Inside was a piece of slate with chalk marks that didn't mean anything to me. A name on the lid scratched deep. I traced it, felt the letters like graves. I didn't say it out loud. Some names are better left in wood. The radio on my chest clicked again. A whisper came through. Not words, breath. Then a voice that could have been the conductor's under 30 feet of water. Tracks, stay, tracks. I looked at Marcus. He stared at the radio like it could bite. That was the train guy, he said. Maybe, I said. You ever see anything like this? He said. No, I said. You ever scared like this? He asked. Once, I said. Different desert. Same feeling, like the ground was wrong. What happened then? We left, I said. He leaned his head back against the log and closed his eyes for a second. I don't want to go out there, he said. Me either, I said, but we are leaving. First light that's worth a damn. We sat. We didn't talk. Our bodies hurt in that way where the pain is a clean thing that keeps your head from floating away. The mountain waited with us. That's when the hand came back. Not on the glass this time. On the gap at the bottom of the door. Fingers slid under. Thick. Hair on the back matted with snow. The nails were dark and blunt. They tapped the underside of the bar. Curious. Testing. Then the pressure built. Gentle first. Then harder. The wood creaked. The bracket groaned. The bar lifted a hair and dropped. The hand withdrew. The fingers brushed my boot through the gap and heat burned through the leather like a wire had touched it. I jerked my foot without wanting to. Shoot through the gap, Marcus whispered. Negative, I said. They're going to come in, he said. Maybe, I said, but not when we're ready. He didn't answer. The hand came again, but not the same hand. The hair was lighter. The fingers longer. It tapped the bar twice. Then it pulled back. A face pressed to the window. Not the first one. This one had a scar across the bridge of the nose. The skin there was bald and pink and ridged. The eyes were darker. It tilted its head like a dog trying to parse your words. Eva Ann, it said, almost right this time. Like a question. I wanted to say my own name to keep it mine. I kept quiet. My chest hurt from holding the voice in. Marcus started to shake, not fear trembles. Big shakes, like his body wanted to shiver out of his coat. He breathed too fast and then too slow, like he forgot how and had to relearn the steps. Look at me, I said. He didn't. His eyes were on the door. Look at me, I said again, and he dragged his gaze over like it weighed 100 pounds. We're leaving, I said. We're leaving strong, not running. Strong. We go out the back. We swing wide. We get higher. We get higher. We hit the road. We get the tracks. We get the train. He nodded. His jaw worked. Okay, he said. Okay. I pulled my pack. I pulled my pack. Straps cold. Belt stiff. I cinched it. The familiar pressure took me from one kind of fear to a better one. The fear where you have a job. I slung the rifle. I checked the pistol. I checked the radio. I was a checklist with legs. That kept me alive more times than any dumb luck. On me, I said. We pushed the back window out with a boot. The frame cracked. The snow outside came in a sheet. I stuck my head through and looked both ways. The world was a wall of white and tree trunks like spears. No shapes near, shapes farther. Gray on gray, watching. We slid out. The snow took us to the thigh. It burned and bit and grabbed. The cold found my wrists where the gloves didn't seal. I wanted to howl and laugh and cry. I kept moving. Marcus followed. We didn't run straight. We cut right into a stand. We cut left. We used the low folds. We used every bit of ground the way you do in a town with bad men inside it. The whistles picked up. So did the throws. Little rocks now. Lots of them. A hail that cracked against branches and backpacks and helmets. I kept my head down and my eyes up. I wanted to shoot something so bad I could taste powder. I waited. A shape moved close right, fast and low. I turned and brought the rifle up, and the sight found hair and muscle and an eye like a wet stone, and I still didn't fire. I shouted instead. Not words. A bark from the belly. It did what I hoped. It checked. It stopped. It wasn't scared. It was surprised. That bought me a step. I took it. We moved. When the ground drops where you can't see it, the mountain wants your ankles. It got mine once. My foot slid off into a pocket. I kept my balance by pure luck and a grab at a branch that wasn't friendly. It ripped my glove and skin. Blood went hot and then cold. I didn't look, not then. We broke into a narrow draw. The wind backed off here. The snow fell straight down. It felt like safety in the bad way. Like the kind of safety that lets bad things breathe. That's where the mine outflow cut crossed. A shallow ditch under the snow. And that's where Marcus vanished. One step he was there. Next he was gone with a grunt and a holler cut off like the ground ate it. I spun and dropped and slid on my gut and got a handful of his hood. He hung there head and shoulders above a black hole that sucked the heat out of the world. The snow lip had broken and he punched through into a false cover over an old pit, not the main shaft. The side holes miners left when they felt like dying at work. Hold, I said, like that helped him. He was too busy holding for real. He scrabbled for footholds. There were none. His boots hit nothing but air and a wash of cold that smelled like rock forever. I got you, I said. I had him by the hood and the collar and my gloves slipped on the wet nylon. I snagged a strap and that gave me a grip. He kicked and found a nub and pushed. I hauled. His ribs scraped ice. He came up 2 inches. I felt the weight like a truck on my elbows. Snow fell from the lip into the dark and hit water or rock with sounds that said if we messed up there'd be no second chance. He came up another inch. Fingers appeared over the edge, red and raw. He pulled like a drowning man on a rope. We got him out into the snow next to me and lay there like fish on a dock, sucking air, not caring about the world. That's when one of them charged. The sound gave me 1/10 of a second. Thuds. Heavy. Fast. The kind of speed that big things shouldn't have on snow. I turned and the world went slow. A shake came between the trees like a truck dropped off a cliff. It didn't scream. It didn't roar. Its mouth opened a hair and showed teeth that weren't made for show. Its eyes were wrong. I don't have better words. They were wrong. I should have shot. That's what the body wanted. But the train horn saved us in that exact stupid perfect second. One long. Too close. It cut the air like a knife through canvas. Everything paused. Even the snow looked like it hung there. The shape checked. It didn't turn. It didn't flinch like a deer. It just paused and took the sound the way a man takes a face slap when he's focused on a fight. That breath worth of pause saved us. Train, I said, like an idiot. Marcus rolled to a knee and then he did shoot. He put a round over its head because he didn't have the sight picture and because whatever else he wasn't going to pop rounds into a shadow and pretend that wouldn't matter later when anyone came asking. The crack hacked the clean air. The shig moved like spilled darkness. It vanished behind a trunk that shouldn't have hit it. Then it wasn't there. Move, I yelled. It was our best word. We ran downhill toward the sound of the horn, and the world tried to kill us with branches and holes and slopes that pretended to be flat. The whistles chased us. Rocks chased us. The hum came back hard now like the whole mountain was a generator spun too fast. I couldn't taste the air anymore. My lungs burned with something else. My legs felt like rebar bent wrong. We broke out of the trees onto a cut slope above the tracks. The river foamed below, dark and hungry. The trestle stood to our left like a rib. The tracks themselves were a clear line through the white. That was the promise. 2 steel snakes that ended in town and heat and lies we could tell people who'd nod and change the subject. The train came around a bend slow. Snow clotted on its nose and windows. It wasn't a big engine, but to me, it was a fortress. The horn wailed again, longer. The sound bounced off the rock wall opposite and came back with friends. I waved my arms like a crazy man. The engineer saw us. You can tell when a machine changes its mind. The brakes squealed. The cars shuddered. It wasn't going to stop at a sprint. It was going to roll and hope. We had to get down the slope to the narrow bit next to the rails, where men in orange vests walk and leave gum wrappers. The slope was a sheet under powder. I slid. It went fine for a step. Then my feet went out, and I bounced on my hip and elbow, and the rifle cracked into a rock, and I swore and kept going. The world turned into a bad luge. I dug heels and hands and burned skin and didn't care. I came to a stop in a little pile of myself against a stump. I popped up, looked back. Marcus wasn't behind me. He was above. He took a different line. He hit a patch of brush that hit a void, and his legs went through again. Not a pit like before, a culvert. An old drain under the cut. Snow had bridged it. It ate him to the thighs and pinned. He was stuck like a rat in a trap, arms free but legs locked by the angle and the weight. "Fuck," he said. He pushed. He pushed. He couldn't get purchase. The culvert pipe was ice inside. I scrambled up the slope on all fours, gave him a hand, pulled. Boots came a hair and then wedged. The train horn blew again, closer. We didn't have time to be careful. We didn't have time to be smart. We had time to be strong and lucky, or to be names on a little cross near the track. Behind us in the trees, trunks shook. Snow fell from branches in sheets. Something big moved, more than one, all angles, no path, like they planned to come out in a ring. The hair on my arm stood up even in the cold. The radio hissed. A voice tried to say our names like a parent at a window. The sound made me want to throw up. "Knife," I said. He had his out before I finished. He jammed it along his calf and cut the cloth in the strap. That gave the leg a hair worth of play. I yanked like my elbows would come off, and he came free with a slurp, and we both ate snow and laughed like madmen, because laughing is what you do when you should be doing anything else, but your brain chooses that. We slid the rest of the way together. The tracks were right there. Steel and gravel in a world we knew how to live in. The train was on us. The engineer had thrown everything he had at not killing us. The cars squealed like pigs and slid, and I could see the conductor at a door with his hand on the rail, ready, jaw set. We sprinted along the side to a little flat where men step off to check bearings. The conductor waved once. He didn't smile. He threw the door open. The train still moved. We had to time it, like grabbing a truck rail to jump on when it's barely rolling. Do it wrong, and you become a red smear. "Go," I yelled. Marcus went first. He grabbed the rail and planted a boot and swung, and for a second I saw him miss in my head, and then he didn't. He was in. He turned and stuck a hand out, and I took it, and we both pulled, and I scraped a knee on steel and didn't care, because then I was in the warm orange light of the car, and the door slammed and the outside noise dropped like a curtain fell. The train kept moving. It would take 100 yards to break. We both turned to the window without talking. They were there. 3 stood on the slope where we had just been. 1 big, 1 a hair smaller with a shoulder scar, 1 leaner. They did not run after the train. They did not howl. They stood. The big one put its hand on the little rail mark in the snow and spread the fingers, and then lifted the hand and put it to its chest, slow, like a pledge or a joke. The smaller one leaned its head and blinked. Wrong. Always wrong. The conductor put a hand on my shoulder. It was heavy and steady and dragged me back into the car. "Sit," he said. We sat on the floor like privates who had pissed off everyone. The engineer leaned in his window. The car heater coughed and came on. Heat brushed our cheeks in weak little breaths. "Water," Marcus said, and the conductor shoved a bottle into his hand. He drank and handed it to me, and I drank, and I could have cried at plastic and tap water like it was a mother's soup. No one else was in that car. The conductor looked at the rifles and the ripped pants and the eyes we must have had, and he wasn't surprised. He didn't ask what had happened. He looked tired in the way people look when a story doesn't surprise them anymore, and that's worse than shock. That means the world is bigger and older than you want to admit. We slid into a siding to let the brakes breathe. Snow ticked on the window. I looked because I couldn't not. Shapes moved below the trees, pacing, not getting close to the tracks, keeping a distance like the rails were a holy line. The horn sounded once. The shapes drifted back into cover. We rolled on. The car smelled like wet wool and metal. My hands shook now that the work was done. That's when you shake. After, the body pays the bill. The conductor crouched. His knees popped. He had that look of a guy who'd been doing this longer than I'd been breathing in uniforms. He glanced at the radio on my chest and the rifle, and then at my face. He nodded once like we had passed some small test for staying alive. "Tracks are safe," he said. His voice was low. "The iron. They don't like it. Not while the wheels sing. When the horn goes, they back off a hair. Don't ask me why." I swallowed. "You know about them. Since I was a kid," he said. "My father drove this line. His father before him. They see what men leave. They like empty places. They like tunnels and bridges. We make paths. They use them at night. We make noise. They follow it. We drop food. They get brave." "Why don't you tell people?" Marcus asked. His voice cracked on the last word like he was 15. The conductor smiled like it hurt. "I do," he said. "Just not in a way people hear." He leaned in a little. "You boys keep your mouths shut from here to town. You go home. You tell your own if you need to. You don't come back in the first snow. Not to that side. Summer's different. They go high then. First snow pulls them down, brings them to the cuts where the wind doesn't gut them." "You carry a gun?" Marcus asked, because he couldn't help it. The conductor tapped the wall with his knuckles. "I carry steel and noise," he said. "That's what keeps me old." We sat with that. The car clacked. The heater sighed. The world outside was white and trees and the river a dark vein. We came to a section where the rail bent along a cliff. I looked down out of habit and saw footprints pacing the train. Not ours. Fresh. Big. Deep. Deep. They moved where the slope allowed. When the line cut close to the tree line, the prints kept even and then broke when the cliff sharpened and started again when the ground gave. I watched them like a man watches the last hand on a table. The prints ran at our speed even when the land made no sense for it. I could not see the bodies. I didn't need to. The radio hissed once more. A breath. A hum. Then a voice that was trying to be someone I loved. "Eveon," it said, soft, like a plea. Then it clicked dead. Marcus swallowed hard. "They're keeping up," he said. "They'll stop at the trestle," the conductor said. "They don't like the open over the river. Most nights." "Most," I said. He didn't answer. We rolled across the trestle like a toy on a shelf edge. The river threw its voice up into the girders. The horn gave a short bark. The wind came hard through the cracks and then died when we hit the curve and the trees wrapped us again. After that, the shapes thinned. The snow let up. The sky turned from steel to something lighter. The train felt bigger. I let my shoulders drop and found out they had been in my ears for hours. Town came. A curve. A curve. A yard. Other cars. Other cars. People on a platform with cheeks red and hands in pockets. The world that pretends the other one isn't there. The conductor stood and unclipped the door. He looked at us a last time. "You boys see a dock if your brains keep buzzing," he said. "If you hear whistling at night, turn on the radio and play static. Don't open the door for voices you know." "You ever lose anyone?" I asked, because the question had been clawing at me. He didn't answer for a breath too long. "Not off the train," he said. "Not when they were on iron." "Don't make me a liar." He slid the door. Cold came in, but it felt like nothing now. We stepped onto the platform. People glanced and looked away. You can carry a story on your clothes and people will walk around it. We walked through them and became part of town again. I didn't go back. Not in first snow. Not to that place. I went on with the job. I carried the mountain in my ribs like a coin. Years passed. Knees went. The laugh lines cut deeper. Marcus still calls. We talk kids. Bad backs. The same old jokes. Some nights, when the air has a certain weight, we stop mid-sentence and leave it. He knows where I went in my head. I know where he went. Once, not long after, I sat in my living room with the old radio on the shelf. I keep it. Have it. I turn it on sometimes and let the static fill the house because the house gets too quiet. That night, the static went low. Not off, low. Like someone turned a knob I wasn't touching. I stood and crossed the room and hovered a hand over it, and I heard it then. Not in the radio, in the walls. In the dark of the corner by the window I haven't fixed because the frame is old and the cold comes through in winter. A whistle. Short, 2 notes. Then a voice, soft, almost right, like someone learning my words again. "Van," it said. I didn't open the window. And from somewhere far, like a horn through snow, I heard my own voice answer back. Not from my mouth. "Don't wander." So that's the end of our video. If you made it this far, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free. And if you want more terrifying encounters like this one, check out the other videos on screen right now. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there. See you soon.